Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I'd like to show you how I made this card. What I'm doing is featuring this new paper that is released for celebration, and this is the paper package, and this is available free with a $50 order through the end of March. So let me show you some of these papers. They're absolutely gorgeous. There's this polka dot one, and there's three each of each design, three sheets of each design in the package. And this is covered with, it almost looks like rose gold, but I'm almost positive it's copper because we don't have a rose gold. Then this is a stripe. And I'm going to do something else with this. So I thought I would feature this because it's available for free to give you some ideas of some of the things you could do with this. There's this pattern, which is absolutely beautiful. These leaves and gold, oh, I don't know, like little floral sprays. It's just beautiful. And then there is the pattern that I am using here, which is this beautiful floral pattern. And what I've done here is I've just cut out a piece and I colored it in with my Stampin' Blends. So what you need to make this card, we'll just get started here. It's very simple. Now, I will tell you that it's not necessarily fast because the coloring does take a little bit of time. But what you need is, now you could pick any color in the background. I chose Berry Burst. 8.5 by 5.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. Then I cut a panel of this pretty paper, and let's see, here's the blank one. I cut a panel of this blank paper, 4 by 5 1/4, and then I have a piece of Whisper White, 4 by 5 1/4 for the inside. And I'm using a little bit of our gold 1/8 of an inch ribbon here, and then I'm using a couple of die cuts from the Petal pellet die set. And I'm using this little die here to cut out my sentiment. And then I cut this little design out a couple times, once to put here on the front of the card and once on the inside. And it picks up the gold accents really nicely on this card. And so that's what I'm using. So what I thought I might do is just show you a little bit about the coloring. Now this paper is got a shiny background. It's almost like the glossy paper, and so the color moves around on it just a little bit differently. So let's just pick a flower here. Let's pick this one right in the center, because you could actually do this and just feature one flower colored and leave the rest of it blank, and I think that would be a lovely card as well. So I've selected, these are the two cherry cobblers, the light and the dark cherry cobbler. And so what I have done here, and I'll show you just a tiny bit of technique here. On this paper, the blends streak a little bit, and so and I've taken some classes now on some of the coloring techniques, and what I've been told is that if you don't want lines and you don't want it to streak, then put your color down in little circular motion, and what happens is that you get a good complete coverage of your color without any of the streaks, and then you can go in and add little pieces to it here at the little spots. Now I did go outside the lines here. One of the features of this is that you get something called a color lifter, and it really does pick up the color and get rid of it for you. And so if you do go outside the lines a little bit, you can use your color lifter to minimize the damage there. And let's see, I've got just a couple of little places right on the end that I need to fill in. And then I'll show you what I did to create highlights on this. There we go. And because they're alcohol markers, you want to make sure you cover them right away after usage. So now I've got the darker of the cherry cobbler, and it's got a thicker end and a thinner end, and I'm going to use the thinner end on this. And what I'm going to do is just come along here and just add some feathering accents here to the base of this color so that it looks like there's variation on the leaves of this flower. And I'm going to just choose to go right along the edges and down at the bottoms of where I think, in observing flowers on my own, I would have seen maybe a darkening of the color. And so let me bring that up so you can see it. And it dries very quickly. It's alcohol marker. So there you can see I've just put 2 tones of red on that one. And then I'm going to use only the dark old olive. And I'm going to use the small brush point on that one. And again, I'm going to lay down my color first in these little circular motions and get complete coverage of my leaf here. Now, I think this one would be lovely just because it's featured. It kind of depends on how you cut your paper, but if you get a beautiful flower right in the middle like this one, you can take advantage of that. And I'm going to lay down a little thin stripe inside this stem and then color my other leaf over here. And again, small circular motions, and then you don't end up with any striping on the color. And one thing I did find is that when you go over like the gold on this paper, it does change the color of the gold a little bit. It doesn't really resist the gold on this paper, or the copper, whichever it is. Okay, so now I've got color down, and you can see I've got a little bit of streaking on this one right in here. I think you can see that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this same marker and I'm going to go down that side as though that was my intention and add just some what's called single color shading to give some depth to my leaves. So I'm going to make one of the leaves on this little one darker, and I'm going to make 2 of the leaves on this other one just a little bit darker. And so you see the effect that you get is you get some shading on that color. Now, the other thing that I did is I used my black marker pen. And you can only do this when you're done coloring, because if you accidentally use this and then use the alcohol markers over the top of this, it smears your black. So you only want to do this at the very, very end. And what I did was I added a little bit of color to some of the stamens that are marked on the flower. And I think that gives it a nice finished look. Now, to save time, I have colored my other panel. The only thing I haven't done on this panel is put in my black stamen marks on the flowers. And so I'm going to do that very quickly here to give you an idea of what that looks like. And I think it gives the flowers kind of a finished look. And they're around on several of them. You don't have to do this. It's not a requirement by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought it added a little something to a couple of these by making the flower look a little bit more finished. And so there we go. So other than the coloring, this one is pretty darn fast. And it's kind of fun to experiment with these alcohol markers. They really work pretty well, and they're pretty easy to use. Okay, so next I have my trim here, and what I did was I found that if I cut about 14 inches of this ribbon, and then I used my silicone mat so that I could put down some snail on the back side of this ribbon, or one side of it because it's pretty much reversible. And what I did on here was I just decided to wrap it like I might a package. Have the ribbon kind of going across the bottom here, and it doesn't matter really where you place it, just so long as you have enough ribbon cut that you can match that same angle on the top of your card. So there I've got that angle on the bottom, and I'm going to try and match this angle at the top, and in this case I've cut more than I need. So I'm just going to cut some of that off and secure those ribbon tails back behind my project. And there we go. See, this one needs to come down. And so securing that down there, and then I'm going to go ahead and mount that by just using snail, because I'm going to use the additional snail here on the back of my card to really secure that ribbon in place and get it set down on the card here, adding a little bit extra. And I'm going to center this on the front of my card here. Let's see, do I want that right way, that way? I think I want it this way. I don't think there's a right side or a wrong side to this, but this one feels more like this should be the top. It's probably all of my imagination. Okay, so then I have cut a couple of pieces of this pretty filigree trim. And I decided that adding that just along here at the bottom and then adding it on the inside gave enough decoration that this felt pretty complete. So I'm not putting much more, in fact I'm putting nothing more on the inside of this card because I want this to be a fairly simple design. So I'm going to go ahead and put my card on the inside of my card here. I've got a little smudge there. I can take care of that off camera with my little sanding block. And let's see, I think I've got all the little holes punched out of there. This die cuts beautifully. It's really pretty simple. And I'm going to go ahead and, I know, horrors, just add a little snail on the back of this and run my fingers to take the excess off. And I'm just going to place this right here at the top of the card. This piece is fairly long, so you want to just make sure that you get it set so that there's kind of an even border on either end. I've got a little extra piece there that needs to come away. There we go. All right, and so that's all the decoration I'm doing on the inside. Now, on the outside, I did use just snail, and this looks like it's stuck down pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and do that again. You might want to add a little liquid glue to the back of this because this paper is a little glossy, but I'm finding that this is working out pretty well. So I stuck my gold piece right across the base here, and then I have a piece of scrap of Berry Burst and some gold embossing powder and emboss my my sentiment here. And I've used the sentiment from the Petal palette that says Best Wishes. And so I'm going to use my embossing buddy here on my piece of scrap. I'm going to add my Versamark here, and I'm going to put my sentiment down here, my Best Wishes. I'm going to add some gold embossing powder. And I think this is just a lovely little card in the end. Very easy to do. Like I said, a little fiddly because of the coloring, but that's pretty much it. I'll quiet the video while I'm going to use my die here from the Petal Palette Suite, and I'm going to cut out my piece, and I'll be right back. I'm back with my sentiment now, and I did use just snail on the back of this piece, and adhered this, and I offset it a little bit from the filigree piece because I thought it was such a shame not to be able to see that pretty filigree stuff. So I put this centered on this one, but down just a little bit. And so there we have our card for the day. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, and it's using things you could probably just use your markers if you didn't have blends, but the blends are kind of a nice treat because they dry so fast. So that is the project for today. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel. I do appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator, and or you could join my team. There's wonderful offers right now for joining Stampin' Up! You can get over $200 worth of stuff for $99, and then you order your orders from Stampin' Up! Are at a 20% discount. So it really is, through Celebration, is a wonderful opportunity to join Stampin' Up! And get those discounts, and or start a small business for yourself. The other thing is that this lovely paper is available with a $50 order, which can be done on my website, Bedinger.stampinup.net. And the prize draw for this month is a 2-month subscription to Paper Pumpkin, which includes the March kit, which is the 5th anniversary kit. So, and if you're already a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, then of course we pick something else from the catalog. So thanks again for stopping by. I do so appreciate your time and attention, and I'll be back soon with more projects and more cards. Bye.